Well, happy Memorial Day, everybody. I'm looking at the only irrigation this farm has. We're trying to water some grass up, which has been pretty tough even in a year like this. But it's trying to find some positives here in this drought. I drove and scouted crops today, which you'll see farther in this video, and obviously a pretty tough situation. But here's what I came up with. We haven't had to mow the yard once, so we're definitely saving on lawnmower blades and hours on the lawnmower. No mosquitoes. That's a positive. The dust blowing sandblasted our door, so it'll be easier to stain. And the wind blew hard enough that it actually knocked our corral panels over on top of our waterer, but it actually didn't break the waterer. So there's some positives for today. I'm going to take you through kind of where we're at in crop stuff. I drove around and looked at crop in the area too, and gosh, there's a lot of spotty stands, of course, as we got farther into seeding because there's just been literally no moisture. We are at 3/10 for the year, which would put us, I think, somewhere in the ballpark of like 2/10 since April 1st or something. So hang in there, you guys. We got to have some sense of humor in this or we'd go crazy, right? And spend some time looking for my couch cushions that blew away too. I suppose that'll give me something to do. So, and the other positive, hey, one more, there's no weeds when I drove around because it's too dry for them to start too. So here's what I found when I was out crop scouting. Well, as much as I've been trying to avoid it, I'm actually out scouting fields. And the first seeded stuff actually is not terrible. So you can see you can row these peas out pretty good. I will say on the headlands, it's more like 50% germed. I drove across a field that was later seeded peas. And this definitely is a year where the disc drill doesn't shine on like the headlands. And there's basically no germination in those headlands since we've only got 3/10 of rain for the year. But the positives so far on this trip is everything in the top, of course, is dry. But between no till and probably building our soils up, this strip stubble in here, we've got pretty good sub moisture. So underneath there, once I get about 4 inches down, can actually still ball this soil in my hands. So for 3/10 of rain for the year, really pretty impressive. And so there's some positives here. We're learning stuff there. We're also learning we probably should have set that disc drill just as absolutely deep as it could go and maybe put some weights on it this year because it was just a weird year for not being able to get that to penetrate as well. And normally rain fixes that, right? A ½ inch rain anytime after you seed kind of covers up some of those things. But this year, spotty stands are everywhere, and anywhere that the drill couldn't quite penetrate, or we got that big rain right after we seeded, it just sucked all that moisture out of the profile. And we're really seeing later seeded, not very good stands everywhere. But this beginning stuff that we seeded could certainly be worse. Well, the more fun stuff to scout is the properly managed graze stuff. So what we're seeing here is our stock tank usually sits right over there, and then we move the cows away from it, right, as we do the more mob grazing type stuff. But this part of this gets impacted the way that it should because we're able to put the cattle in here and it's a short stretch and then we move them out of here and they never come back there. This side gets a little more pressure because they come back to this tank all the time. And you can see the difference the managed grazing makes, right, to a line. So it's not terrible out in here for 3/10 of rain. I mean, there is stuff coming, but look over in this. We've got almost a foot tall green grass right there this time of year with very little rain out in this stuff. And when we get in the bottoms away from the tank, it looks like this here as well. So this is a really good example of the ability of this stuff to handle drought when you properly manage the grazing on it, and when you don't, and this stuff on the other side was probably 30% residue left at least, but that much more impact when you hit these tough years, it really shows up. So this is in a barley field that was seeded probably 3 weeks ago. You can see there's plants coming, sometimes where there's cover and stuff under the ground. We got that 1/10 or 2 of rain here in the last couple weeks. There are some barley plants that are starting to germinate down in here, like right there. And then there's some that germinated but got into dry dirt, I think, and are probably dying. So I don't know. This is an unprecedented situation here. far as since we've been farming, it'd be interesting to see what happens if we do get a rain and how much of this sprouts and pops out of it, how much of it probably died after germination down on the ground. So uh, not the most fun process driving around looking at this stuff, but I kind of wanted to share where we were at drought wise. When you get in the bottoms, obviously the stands are better. This is more on a hilltop, but either way, it's pretty tough when you don't have rain for that. Well, this is out in barley in pea stubble from last year. Obviously, pulse crops have been so great for our region as far as being able to do more cropping and rotations and such, but when you hit dry years, the peas they found to take the aggregation out of the soil basically, so it makes it fluffy, right? And then we lose a fair amount of the cover. So this was actually a really good pea crop. It was probably 35 bushel peas last year. But you can see now some of the best dirt that we farm. It is just powder on top. There is some moisture underneath, but anywhere that barley was placed in dry dirt, there's gaps in the stand here. So if I look under here, when we got that 1/10 of an inch of rain, it probably got some stuff started, but there's a lot of barley still sitting in dry dirt because the top is so fluffy. So fair amount of pea stubble left here, so that part's good. There is a stand, but it's, I would guess, 70% of what should be here. Field's really clean. Might be a blessing to have a thin stand if it doesn't start raining pretty soon, but these poor plants have been through hell here. We've got frost-tipped leaves, frost damage on there. There's some wind damage from sandblasting, basically, as this looser soil is blowing a little bit across the top. But the rooting looks really good, so I'm happy with that part. But just a tough year, right? Every little thing where the drill didn't quite get deep enough in the ground, when you get zero rain between seeding and now, it just shows up.